I'll begin with you first. Okay. You've saved the day for, most of us in the room, at least once. Ferns and Petals, they have saved the day for people, by sending flowers at the right time or the cakes at the right time. So how are you, creating those phygital experiences for your customers?
If it is one single answer, it is a CDP, the customer data platform that we have lately built upon. That's what we are banking upon. Again, because today's discussion is about creating that phygital experience at scale. Certainly, we're also in the journey of learning more things. Certainly, we are not there. But then certainly the journey has started. When I'm talking about CDP, so basically we have invested in actually building it in-house. Initially we started with online.
Okay.
And because when we talk about our category, based on because it is need driven, and there are basically when we talk about customer touch points, beyond online, offline, we also have these phone calls also. So we have to marry all the data and then be able to talk about that unified profile of that customer, right? So that's what we have invested in. Initially started with online, and now we have actually maturing. We are maturing into offline and trying to make it better. Honestly, again, that's what I'm saying. We have started investing into it. We are in the journey of making it, taking it to the next level.
Interesting. You raised a very interesting point about data. So I'll come back to you, discussion on it. Pranchu, coming to you now. Okay. Domino's has always been about scale. When I think Domino's, I think about, it's covering pan-India. So how are you expanding your, creating those phygital experiences at scale?
Thank you for the question, Devesh. So, at Domino's, we operate across the country with about 1,600 stores and 30,000 plus manpower. At a customer experience, with a customer experience lens, creating a phygital experience, our endeavor is to make things as simple as possible for our ground force. And there, at the back end, we create more and more RPAs. Now, we have distributed isolated systems, and we are still treading towards it, to create one omni-channel umbrella, which is seamless. The right set of information goes on to everybody, and the entire organization is empowered within the SOPs and policies to take the right decision for the customer. That's what we aim at, and it's a momentary, I don't know what to call it. It's a huge, huge change for us as an organization. Having said that, with each step, we try and simplify things for our users, our customers on the ground, people who come and buy our products, and also for our internal customers, employees who interact with them. Give them enough data, details, so that they are able to have a justified conversation with the user. That's how we try and scale, and we have been able to rapidly scale, in the market.
It's interesting when, a customer orders pizza from Domino's, they're able to see in how much time the pizza will get delivered, in how much time the person will be reaching the pizza will be reaching to the customers. What is the status of the pizza? Is it still in the baking process, or it's reached out? So these are the kind of, experiences that you have created. I believe they have added a lot of value.
Absolutely. So, when we say that whatever that you build, you do it for your internal customers and external customers, for us, this is also, the internal customers are man and machine. So, for Domino's as a company wherein our machines are the, OTs where the pizzas are baked. So everything is connected. It is a connected system. And at the end of the day, while it is still an age-old system wherein you place an order, you get to know where your order is in which state. We are in fact moving, with the help of MarTech available, we are moving ahead and now, considering what is the weather outside, and what is the speed of his bike, and how many people are there inside the restaurant, and how much, orders have come in at this given point in time, we would be able to forecast a real time with a 90% accuracy that how soon can your pizza reach to you. Today it is more on an approximation basis, different assets.
Interesting. Saurabh, Lenskart, has always created those phygital experiences. You started online, and then at very early stage of the evolution, you moved on to the physical stores also. But one of the key things, that I've learned, in reading, in my understanding about the phygital experience is that, you have to create that consistency. What you see online, and you have to see that offline also. So at this level, how do you create that consistency for the brand like Lenskart?
Thanks, David. That's a great question. So when we say online, offline, at the end, we look at it like an omni-channel or a phygital experience. But if the customer journey is broken down into 3 stages. The first is your pre-purchase, where the customer is doing discovery and thinking through, sitting in his bed, where to buy from, okay, doing his research. The second is where you are doing the buying, and the third is post-sales. So a lot of gets influenced when you're discovering, and what information is there on the website, on the marketplaces, and when you go to the store is very important. So there are few things one needs to be very clear about, which we try to do every day, is maintaining consistency of product catalog, maintaining consistency of price, and making consistency of offers.
Okay.
That's very key, because if there is a differential in pricing and offers, there is a big bias which comes in. And when there is a human sales involved, people would want to close the channel sales that time, and it might bias the channel as well. And traditionally we have heard people used to say that if you buy from online, then you will have a different servicing experience. So that's gets influenced on the pre-purchase side. Post-purchase is even important, that you buy from online and you can get it delivered in our store as well, because you want to get the fitting. Whereas if you go to the store and then buy, you can get it delivered at home as well. So making sure you are channel agnostic across. And once it comes about servicing, returns, refunds, the same thing has to be applied. So very importantly, when you're structuring your organization structure, it has to be channel agnostic. A lot of times when you have like an online sales, online servicing, offline servicing, these biases comes in. So these are some very, very basics. I'm not talking about any martech here, but it's very basics, fundamentals, which we have learned over the years. Doing it right creates that wow experience for the customer.
And then how are you, including martech, to create this scale?
Yeah, so how are we using martech to do it at scale is using the right automation and technology around. So knowing how the data from the customer touchpoint, that okay, today we are able to measure 60% of our customers go online, and then they buy in the store. And there is an online to offline influence, and there is an offline to online influence. So, and using these information to close the sale. If somebody has gone offline, he has seen the catalog but didn't purchase, there is that 6-7 days cooling period which might happen. So you can do a cross-channel offer and then close the offer in it. So using your drip campaign strategy and all. So, but the underlying thing is knowing the customer journey is very key. Knowing the customer journey in online is very simple, because everything is a digital footprint, but how you make sure that you know a little bit about the physical footprint as well.
Interesting. Prancho, I want to come back to you actually for one. So sort of mentioned that, that it's important to have this consistency at the offline and the online touch points. So I had this experience about, where I had an online coupon, okay, but the offline store guy told me that, this cannot work at the offline store, okay. So it was a couple of months ago. So I realized that, that probably there is some inconsistency in the offline and online experience that I am having. So how can one, sort this out?
So see, as an organization, the endeavor is to ensure that more and more customers download my app and they stay on the network. As a guest, when you walk inside my restaurant and you do not have my mobile app, there are specific different offers for you.
Right.
But to stay connected, and we've seen that the buying frequency of a customer who's got the Domino's app is about 40% higher versus people who do not have this app and probably come through aggregators to us.
Okay.
So that as an organization, largely the plan is to ensure that people do download, and that's how we promote. Because we are, see, in case let's say you go and does an offline purchase. Now in case you have an issue, where would you go then? Okay. Right? You would pick up the phone, speak to a cranky voice. The person will be able to help, will not be able to help. We really don't know. But in case if you have the our in-house asset, which is the mobile app, then you will get the complete seamless experience. There is bot, there is resolution engines, there is a lot of layers that we have built to give that confidence to the user and a transparent system that, hey, in case if there is an issue with your product, the brand is there to take care of you. With that endeavor at the back of our mind, we do push customers. We do ask them, now request them that if they would download the app, there is far more loyalty that I can build with them and far more, much richer experience, which if you just walk inside my store, you may not really get it.
Interesting, interesting. Samarth, Dabur has always been a traditional player, okay, very retail heavy. So I can find the Dabur products at the retail touch points, across the marts. Now I can see those Dabur products across the online marts also. So in between, the online and the offline world, how are you creating those phygital experiences for your customers? Because if I'm a customer, I go to the retail point, I pick up the Dabur product, then come back home, or I can order it from the cart. So where is the space for this, creating those phygital experiences for Dabur?
Thanks, Devish. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Devish, if you see that phygital experience is an, sort of an evolution of offline and online. So right. E-commerce evolution, so to say. I'll take a step back and, almost pre-COVID, if you see, as a company, our e-commerce salience was just, meager 1%. Fast forwarding 2 years, we saw leapfrog growth in digital adoption at pan-India level and across the globe actually. And e-commerce is just 20-22% of the overall digital space. Our e-commerce salience as we speak is close to double digit to the overall turnover. So that's quite massive. Now, why Phygital is important and what we are doing to enhancing that. First of all, I think there are 3 major components attached to that as a company because we have to serve and delight consumers. First is consumer, second is customer or channel or retailer, you can say. And third, the most important element of the equation is cost. If you see consumers in India, India is a pretty heterogeneous market. We have got 6 major religions, 6,000 plus caste and subcaste, and 28 states. And consumption pattern from state to state differs. I can talk about numerous number of products, but tea or spices or any category, spices for example is a 60,000 crore category. Organized market is 22,000 crores. True. There's no single big player. The largest player holds 10% of the market share. That's 2,200 crores. So one company or one buying pattern cannot consume and absorb the overall demand. So hence you have to have an amalgamation of between online and offline. Second piece, very, very important, and it's a discernible trend. If you see that premiumization is a secular trend in India. We as a company, we are serving 2 masses as whole. We are present in 8 out of 10 households. But premiumization is a secular trend. Bharat is catching up really well. I'll give you again a few figures which will put this to life. Number one is if you see FMCG per capita consumption in India is still at $45. Leave developing countries. I'll give you a reference of developed countries. I'll give you a reference of developing countries. China is 5x of us. Philippines is 4x of us. Indonesia is 2x of us. So there's a headroom to grow. It can only grow if you'll go close to consumer and close to their pattern. Third piece, I spoke about customer or retailers, because ultimately you sell from your own website or you sell through Big Basket or Big Bazaar or Reliance Retail or D-Mart. At the end of the day, you need to understand how the cost factor is and the component is being answered. For any e-speciality, be it I run my own website or I serve to a platform like Nykaa or a platform like Milk Basket, specialty platforms, their P&Ls are stacked up this way. Customer acquisition cost, we typically call it as CAC, is 17-18% of the overall business. Logistics is in my kind of trade is around 12-13% of the turnover. Then there's a tech cost, human capital cost, and so forth. That's 15-20% of that. So net, no business can survive on 50% of only the cost factor because margins are pretty, squeezed up. The second piece, if you'll go to offline retail, modern retail in specific, customer acquisition cost is hardly anything because they are fulfilling the local catchment area. That's 1.5%. Running the show, store space, manpower, everything put together is 13-14%. So if you'll put offline and online together, the cost component would come in a vicinity of 20-25%. That's an answer. Why it is important. If how we are doing it, we are looking at these trends. We have got a RISE team within the company, regional insight and speed of execution, we call it as. And there's within my team, I've got team of analysts. They do what they do. They look at a few digital trends. We call it a digital smoke signals. Their job is to look at trends across the trade, across the market, and we go and launch exclusive products with Amazon, Flipkart, on our own website. And at a regional level, once we see some scale and size of those products, we broadcast it. We launch it at a larger scale. So that's what we guys are doing. Our D2C component, digital first brands, would contribute close to 100 crores of total turnover. Wow. These are some 5-6 brands. They were born on almost 2 years back. So that's the profound focus from our side. I hope I've answered your question.
No, definitely we answered. Yash, coming to you now. Okay. So all these brands, they are working on creating those phygital experiences. But when they start their journey, so what are the key pain points, that they have and which you kind of help them to solve?
Sure. So I will start from where you picked up, Devesh, about the coupons part, right? Offline and online. See, the Gen Zs and the millennials these days do not understand what is physical and digital. They want similar experience across all the channels, whether they are going into a showroom or they are buying online. They do not understand if a shirt for a particular size is not available, they demand that should be available. So customers are getting more and more demanding. Secondly, we are working with a lot of clients defining their customer journeys. We are seeing these journeys are becoming more and more complex. Okay. Typical sales cycle for a mobile phone purchase, customer switches between offline and online on an average 10 times. So the journeys are becoming more and more non-sequential. It is something that is a very big pain point for the consumers to understand. The next point which Samarth also picked up is around the cost. We have seen a lot of stores coming up which are experience centers, but these are only a handful of few. And India is such a market where sustainability plays a bigger role as compared to giving them luxury to, let's say, go to experience stores and pay a premium for a particular purchase, even if you're buying a luxury brand as well. So who will bear the cost for these experience stores, for these experiences is something which is a food of thought for all the companies right now.
Sachin, that brings me to the question, that Jash has raised. Who will bear the cost of, creating those experiences? Because it's a heavy cost. Brands that start online, if they go offline, then that's a, cost which they have to invest in creating those experience centers. So what are the trends, that you are seeing, in this phygital space? Are brands ready to invest on it?
Okay, let me, first on a lighter note, every time I'm in such a conference, and I'm a computer science engineer, I wonder if I put the word CDP, journey, omni-channel in a GPT-3 algorithm, most of the speeches will come out. So I will try to keep it in extremely simple language. Today we serve the digital native brands like Ola, Uber, Flipkart, Myntra, and we also serve an HDFC, and I'm trying to give a contrast. Sure. And we also serve it, two of the brands on the dais. There are 3 things that we have clearly observed, and I will try to keep it as non-jargon as possible. The first is, I want all of you to wear a consumer hat for a while. Forget that you're all marketers, right? All of us would have made at least one online purchase, whether it's a cab or a food or whatever are the digital first experiences. And any such journey from discovery, he broke it up into, beautifully into 3 parts. The discovery, the purchase, and the fulfillment. You can break it up. you at least have 2 or 3 different touch points that are happening on a very simple journey like food buying, which we are doing, all of us are doing. By show of hands, how many of us in 24 hours have booked a cab or ordered food online or bought something from Amazon? It's usually 70–80%. Now, we don't need to get into data science to understand that what is the consumer experience. We are all experiencing it, right? So the first thing that we have observed is the focus have moved from interaction to context, which means you can't look at one touch point in isolation. You first have to form an underlying basis of what is the journey, and then the customer could come in from any channel. It doesn't matter. And I loved how Lenskart, it almost seemed like in my head a platform of API and then people building applications over it, but the API remains consistent. So your core business processes remain consistent. And it is extremely tough for somebody like Domino's and Dabur because there are so many legacy systems which exist, and so is true for banks. So somebody will have to layer it up. So that's the first problem and first trend that we have seen, that people don't look at one touch point in isolation. Also, now let's wear the hat of the marketing team. If we want to quickly experiment, let's say that Lenskart wanted to, instead of sending an SMS, wanted to send a WhatsApp message because the engagement is much high. Any small such experiment today is extremely expensive to execute. So you first have to build a business case, then get a system integrator. One of the trends that we have seen is, like in startup world, you have to be agile. You have to quickly experiment, measure, and see what is, you can't create what I call as 5-year plan, how India used to do. So you shouldn't approach a problem with I know, experiment, see whether it's resulting in, in data we trust, everything else is intuition. So see whether it's working and then scale it, right? That's the first trend. The second trend is the devil of AI. Now, I've been to a lot of CIO conferences and people ask me that, what should we do in AI? And I said nothing. You first have to figure out what problem are you trying to solve. So here are things that you can actually, here are the problems you can look at when you're using AI, and that's a trend that we have seen. First is, how do you do cost optimization on journey? Each cost of acquisition, cost of service, wherever you are, if you do it through the most expensive channel, the board is going to tell us that reduce cost and increase customer experience. For the first time in history, faster, better, cheaper, all three are possible in customer experience. So for example, our generation is generation of what I call as asynchronous communication. In simple bhasha, we love talking on WhatsApp rather than on phone with our closest of friends because it's asynchronous. And it's cheaper for a business to do that. So that's the second trend. That you use. So I believe that most journeys will start from notification to a bot to a human being, and it has to be extremely seamless. So you will notify, then a bot would come in, it would try and solve most of the queries where emotion is not involved, and as soon as emotion is involved, you need a human being. Don't try and replace a human being by a bot when there is emotion involved. Then cost doesn't matter. So to discover that customer is in an emotionally charged situation right now is a challenge for all of us. Because that's the moment of truth. That is when you can create an experience. And the last trend that we have observed is, by the way, all of us, what's the first thing in the morning you do and last thing before you sleep? Most of us. Check WhatsApp. So we are partners with Meta and we have seen one very, very big trend. A lot of us think of WhatsApp as a notification tool today, right? Or a conversational bot. But WhatsApp, for example, believes that if you look at digital world, there are two channels of entry. One is the website. Second is, of course, the app. In the Phygital world, you also have the store. WhatsApp wants to become the third medium. So they don't want the consumer to go out of WhatsApp at all. So you will start seeing discovery of businesses happening on WhatsApp. So you'll have WhatsApp search. You will discover. Now, all this as a consumer, every morning I wake up, with WhatsApp, most notifications are brand notifications, unfortunately. I don't know where this is going, but this is a trend. As marketers, the channel engagement on WhatsApp is just through the roof. We can't ignore it, but we have to be extremely careful about not using it as a replacement of SMS, otherwise it will become SMS. Right? So those are the three trends that I wanted to talk about. You continuously have to balance, but keep it very, very simple with the problem first and not what technology can do.
No, interesting, Sachin. I think the WhatsApp trend is pretty good because marketers are finding a lot of engagement, that's happening with their customers through the roof, when they use WhatsApp. Sai, coming back to you, you raised a very important point at the beginning, about data. How, with the CDP programs, I mean, like, you're able to gather a lot of data on the customers. So when you have this data, how does it help you in creating, even better experiences, for your customers?
Okay. Yeah. So thank you for actually giving me an opportunity to talk about it. Yeah. So I'll probably use the word onboarding, right? So onboarding, if I call it as creating an account and then placing him there, I think probably I think I'll have to move beyond and actually talk about enriching the customer's profile. I mean, beyond that. Until and unless we enrich the customer's profile, we'll not be able to make justice to this thing, right? So I'll talk about things like first thing, we are a need-driven business. Nobody just buys a gift just for the heck of it. There would normally be an occasion or some reason. But the reason could be anything. Correct. It could be as simple as thank you for something. Okay, so there would be a reason, and then they're sending it to somebody else. There is a third party. Okay, it's not buying for themselves. That's the second point. And then usually they send somewhere. For example, it could be, within Delhi only, or probably somebody sending from Delhi to somewhere outside. Okay, so where are they sending? And then, so like that. So what, when, why, all those things are there. So a lot of this information is actually we capture based on the browsing behavior in real time. Okay, for example, a lot of times the customer doesn't tell that I'm actually looking for birthday. But then he clicks on a banner which is birthday, and then you try and relate that, okay, this guy is looking for birthday. Okay, and then he puts a pin code of, let's say, Bangalore. Okay, so this guy is looking for pin code gift to be sent to Bangalore, and then it's a birthday gift. Okay, and then sometimes recipient is a little tricky for us to identify, but then wherever there is a queue, for example, if the customer is looking for gifts for her, then you say, okay, it's a female. So you keep on understanding these things in real time. That's one. And then there is a lot of transactional data. On top of it, until now he has visited 10 times. Out of those 10 times, he has placed 3 orders, and these 3 orders are like this. So all this data actually helps us build that unique profile of that customer. Once I have that data, because for example, just for an example, let's say he sent a birthday gift to somebody in Bangalore. It's a repeating thing next year. Okay, that's one part of it. And then let's say he abandoned the cart. Okay, then that's an event for me. And then before abandoned, what did he do on the website? So in real time, what can I do to be able to actually touch base with him and get the website, get him back on the website or app, and then actually take that intended action. So and then if at all, if required, let's say based on the sensitivity of the customer to coupons or promotions or anything like that, do I have to give some incentive for him to take that action? Are all the things that we try to build and tag it to the customer, and based on that is what at the same time, for example, if I have to get him back on the customer, what is the channel that is actually he's more prone to be using? Is it, let's say, like the way that he has taken the name of WhatsApp, SMS, it could be app notification, it could be an email. A few people might be very active on email. So what is the channel he's actually prone to for him to get him quickly? If none of them works out, I have the last thing, call him up. Because most of the times our journeys are like that. When I'm saying journey, the needs are like that. I need to place an order for his birthday today.
Right.
Because although it is need-based, our customers realize in the last minute.
Right.
So if I lose the next 15 minutes, I'm sorry, the order might have gone to somebody else. So I have to first quickly, okay, because this guy is very active on app notifications, let me quickly send an app notification. If he doesn't respond, then what do I have to do? If that also doesn't work, then maybe giving a phone call and figuring out what has gone wrong. Okay, sometimes I also know, let's say payment might have failed. If payment has failed, I mean, what is the reason? I think then most probably again call center might be playing a better role. Okay, so this is what we keep doing to actually improve the customer experience, I think. Using this, you asked about how am I using the data, right? This is how we are using the data.
No, interesting, Sai, because yours is a low involvement category. People do not use it. I mean, like like a Domino's. People do it more often. Than they would go to a Ferns and Petals. Saurabh, coming to you on this. Do you concur with Sai and the way they use data, because yours is also a very low involvement category. Once I buy spectacles, or once I buy sunglasses, how often customer comes back to you, and despite having the data of the customer, how do you then create those experiences for your customers?
Yeah. So that's the biggest problem. We continue to struggle, and that's a good opportunity for us. So just to give you some macro stats, across the world, about 40-45% people need some kind of eye correction. Okay. Now, and if you add the fashion component, which is the necessity, so 40-45% people need, and if you look at the dice, 5 out of 7 people are wearing specs. Okay. And in the audience also, it might be the same number, around 40% would be the number. So one is necessity, is the first thing. Then is fashion. So it's all about sunglasses, contact glasses. In contact lenses, again, there is color contact lenses. So we have a range of products which kind of serve the need, which we believe that can touch about 60-70% of people through reading glasses, etc. And new categories got created or splurged during pandemic with the kids coming in, where that was a very, very small category for us. So today, if you look at a person level, we see about repeat rates coming in 6 months. But in India, the thing is, while we talk about 130 crores of population, the e-commerce or the spending population is not more than 10 crores. But each person is kind of the chief purchase officer for the family, and they represent the household.
Okay.
So when you look at the data, it might be that Saurabh is purchasing, and he's purchasing 3 times in a year, but he might be purchasing for his wife, for his kids, for his mother. So looking beyond the data, knowing the macro stats and looking at the family thing gives us that edge. Now, that's one part, but it's not all about sales every time. Okay, how do you look at experiences, and how do you look at the servicing aspect? One thing which in the last 1 year, like 1 year ago during pandemic, one of our social media teams created an interesting video on eye yoga. And that was a popular thing because people were looking at a lot of computers, and that video over a period of time on YouTube got viral, and it became the number 3 video. Now what we realized is it's not about selling specs or selling eye solutions, but it is also helping people see a better world, which is our mission. Now to do that, you look at eye tests as a regular thing, because a poor eye test can lead to a vision problem, and then your number can increase. So doing regular eye test, looking at eye health exercises and all are like simple conversations which you can continue over a period of time with the customer and help them live a better life, more or less. So yeah, so it's not an easy thing, but looking 2 things, beyond sales, looking at the household and looking at ancillary categories which your brand can support.
Interesting. Pranchu, another aspect of using data is to empower your teams on ground, to ensure that that seamless experience is there on the on ground side. So how do you do that? Because you have loads, very high number of outlets there. So managing that is a difficult task.
So, before I directly go there, I would want to share a quick story, and inspired by Sai, Ferns and Petal. So, when we were doing our market discovery, one of the experience, and we do a lot of FGDs, focus group discussions with users, and our own employees, they go to different brands, try and understand that if you are, onboarding on an app as a customer, and then you navigate around multiple pages, you abandon your cart, move away, or you do a purchase, and what is your post-order experience? Ferns and Petal story got ranked first. The abandoned cart story, so the data layer, the entire data layer that you capture, and I was one of those users. I went there, I abandoned the cart, and apparently I waited for, I did not know what will happen next. 15, 20 minutes, I think within 15 minutes of time, I got a call from Ferns and Petal. They say, you were trying to deliver, some flowers and chocolates. Yes, I said, yes, I was trying to, do that, but there is an issue with the payment. I couldn't understand what needs to be done, and I was not very confident. Would you really deliver it in such a remote part of the country? They said, no, we can do that for you, and let me right away do this. I already have your cart in front of me. It's going to take me a minute, and I will send you the payment code, and go ahead and do this. That was such a beautiful, amazing experience that I have experienced, and we took that learning and we implemented that in Domino's. So today, if my customer abandons the cart, we have all data layers, in place. We would try and send a notification. His cart will be visible to across touch points. It could be a POS, an offline store. If he calls up at the contact center to place an order, or inside the customer on his app, the cart stays there. Ultimately, we wait for about 10 minutes because the data suggests that 45% users do come back after they abandon the cart because they would want to navigate around to understand the best coupon available in the market, or since there are a plethora of choices on the food palette today in the market. In case if they do not come back, we have started triggering an automated call to them. Okay. And there is a human touch point, and something that started as a pilot about 6 months back. We've rolled it nationally, and we've been able to win back about 30% customers from the abandoned cart.
Wow.
And thanks to you, Sai, for the first time, I wanted to share it here on this platform. Coming back to your point, so we've got various touch points, contact center, chatbot, riders, people who deliver this Khush Hoke delivery to your home, the POS, the mobile app. So the most important thing is that you need to give the right and the same information across your channels. So through data, via a layer of APIs and AI, we ensure that the same resolution, a post-order experience, is given. You speak to my rider, you speak to my restaurant, you speak to a contact center, you go to a chatbot, or you go to a voice bot. Everybody will give you a same answer. And then a sentiment engine, which you, sir, picked up. In case if the sentiment engine in the system realizes that the person, if the bot is not able to handle it, and they realizes that the sentiment has started turning negative from a happy to negative, or the person is about to become a detractor, there is a frictionless handover to the agent, and then the human agent comes and apologizes. Ultimately, the result is still the same. There are no two ways about it, that Pranchu would give you a different answer or a different treatment, or Devesh would give you a different treatment. That's how we ensure that everybody is at the same page within the organization when it comes to post-order experience.
So that's very interesting because a lot of organizations are not able to do that. What Pranchu and Devesh together can do that, equally for their customers. That's very interesting. Sachin, coming to you, and Yash, I would also want you to also chip in. What are the metrics, on which brands are deciding the success of these Phygital experiences?
So Devesh, I will go back to the customer journey part here. It is important for the brands to understand which journeys are important for Phygital or for omnichannel perspective, and look at the ROI at a customer journey level, because it's not possible to provide all the journey touch points, right? You have to understand which journeys are important for the customers and see the ROI at the journey level. Second point I want to put is around customer effort score. So the point that Pranchu shared, that in case if Ferns and Petal might have not called them back, he would not have gone back to Ferns and Petal and ordered again. Right. So customer effort score needs to be tracked on a regular basis because customers these days are having a time crunch, they have very limited time, and the patience levels are also less. So one bad experience will lead to a customer churn, and it is very important to measure that on a regular basis and put that feedback back into the loop, into your processes, policies and people through trainings, etc., to ensure that the entire experience is seamless.
Right. Sachin, your thoughts?
I'll just take 10 seconds to share 2 insights from what I heard from Piyush and Sai. First of all, Piyush, I used to talk in conferences about memorable experiences. For a second, think of a brand that you really admire and love. Is it usually because of the seamlessness, consistency that you remember that brand? Or that one experience where a human being came and went out of the way to help you? My theory is that if you want to be a memorable brand, it will ultimately be a human being because it's an emotion. It is only a human being that can cause that. And what Piyush mentioned was an example of that. The passion with which he was speaking about Ferns and Petals, call center guy helping, was what caused him to say that right now. It's an insight for all of us that ultimately memorable experiences are human beings. The second point I wanted to make, by the way, thanks for mentioning that use case. Of the 20 million calls that we do every day, the Domino's calls are done on our platform. The second was a bias that gifting should be done for a reason. Again, in the moment, it has become expectation. If it's my birthday, my best friends would give me a gift, right? Now think of the same in your customers. There is already a baseline expectation. Everybody is expecting a cart abandonment would lead to a discount coupon coming in. By the way, it could be a false positive. Right? So think that people are saying, abhi 15 minutes mein I will get a 20% discount. But usually, I'm thinking of a campaign for Ferns and Petals. Yun hi. This morning, I saw my wife standing. I took a flower and told my kid, go and say that this is from Papa. And she smiled, because she was not expecting it. So I think the memorable experience will come from you surprising and delighting your customers. What everybody else is trying to do is catch up, because there's so much to catch up. But keep a focus on, if you want to be memorable, you have to create delight, and that's a challenge. Now coming to measurability, I think we should completely abandon channel effectiveness and channel price. I'll give you just one small mathematical example. How many of you use SMS to give some information to your customers? Some information, notification, transaction. Now as consumers, how many of you have read your SMSs in the last 24 hours? Usually 5%, 6%. The read rates have gone to about 2-3%. Now though your delivery of an SMS is, let's say 15 paisa, and that's what you're measuring it on today, that I will take 15 paisa to inform my customer. Your customer is not reading it. Let's go to the other side. WhatsApp is, let's say, 55 paisa, but the read rate is 90%. The engineer in me says it's obvious, right? But we continue to say it's a cheaper medium. So every time you look at a channel in isolation, I think it's a disaster. You ultimately have to talk about results. 30% recovery. So it doesn't matter what you're doing in the whole journey. Is it resulting in the business metric or not? So the business conversion is what matters. Everything else is a good discussion for intellectual masturbation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sachin. Those are like very, very interesting points. Customer delight, I believe, is the biggest priority for everyone sitting in this room. So with this, we come to the end of this session. Thank you very much for sharing your insights with us, and it really helps for all of us how we can create more and more customer delight for everyone. Thank you everyone.